Welcome. Good to see you again, Mr. Dominguez, and congratulations on your nomination. And it was good having you stop by in the office and get to know one another and chat a bit about the future of PHMSA. As we discussed in our meeting, PHMSA plays a very important role in Montana. It's a big state, and it's vital to ensure our safe and environmentally sound transport of our natural resources, whether it's pipeline or also by rail. The agency's jurisdiction covers approximately 2.6 million miles of pipeline and railroads when transporting hazardous materials, approximately 19,000 miles of pipeline, and another nearly 3,200 miles of rail cross Montana. This infrastructure is truly an economic bloodline for Montana. We produced nearly 30 million barrels of crude oil, 63 billion cubic feet of natural gas, and 42 million short tons of coal annually, and export about 60% of that energy production. In terms of the connection to jobs, the oil, gas, and mining industries directly employ about 14,000 Montanans, and they account for about 8% of our state's gross domestic product. And it's about $500 million in state and local tax revenue. So as we look at this very important job, it's imperative to Montana that we continue to move these commodities in a safe and efficient manner. Very recently, Montana has experienced the consequences of railcar derailments and pipeline failures. In fact, just last Thursday, a train derailed near Culbertson. It released 35,000 gallons of crude oil. In January, a pipeline ruptured near Glendive and released 30,000 gallons of crude into the Yellowstone River. In 2011, a pipeline ruptured on that same river, the Great Yellowstone, and it released 63,000 gallons of crude oil there by Laurel, Montana. So I know Montanans want to be assured that our pipelines are going to be safe, our rail lines are going to be safe. So as administrator, how are you going to be able to regain the public's confidence? Because frankly, when we've had some of these incidents, it shakes the confidence of the folks back home, that our pipelines are safe, that it's a good way to get our natural resources to market.
Thank you, Senator Daines. And I do appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and very much appreciate your concerns, not only for the citizens of Montana, but you also articulated your concerns about the natural resources that were impacted not only by the oil incident in January of this year on the Yellowstone River, but also the most recent rail car derailment just last week. The bottom line is that I think we need to make sure that everything that we do with regard to the integrity of pipelines is as robust as it possibly can be. As you know, we've worked very diligently with the state of Montana to make sure that we're identifying the highest risk areas, making sure that we're able to address any concerns with regard to river crossings, and make sure that directionally drilled pipes are in place to address any potential concerns with regard to flooding. Moving forward, we've developed a report to Congress. We'll look to follow that up and address any concerns with regard to any potential.
Yeah, I know the concerns on the aging infrastructure.
Yes.
Some of these pipelines are 50 years old or greater that were, as you pointed out, they were dredged into the Yellowstone versus directionally drilled. And we want to continue to work to identify these higher risk pipelines and make sure that we have processes in place to prevent future spills. And speaking of the state, following these incidents, it's been important for Montanans to locate information about the pipelines in their communities. In fact, the Montana legislature recently passed a bill to collect information on pipelines that intersect rivers, given we've had these two breaches on the Yellowstone in the last few years, and make sure it's publicly available online so that a Montanan can go online with transparency and see where these river crossings occur with pipelines. I'll tell you, I've heard from back home there's been some frustration with the lack of response from PHMSA as the state's asking for some greater transparency. What could you do to help us ensure that Montanans have access to the information? Again, These are the folks that live the closest to the source where these spills could occur.
Senator Daines, I think you raise a really good issue, and one of the things that I'd like to work with you on moving forward is making sure that we have as much information as is possible about where pipelines actually are in any given community, so that it's made available and as transparent to the public as possible. There are some concerns about, we have an opportunity, we have the National Pipeline Mapping System. We're working and hope to do an information collection here, notice in the next couple of months that would further enhance our data with regard to the exact siting of pipelines. We also have to balance that with making sure that we're sharing information appropriately to make sure that we're not doing anything that would indeed threaten our national security interests as well. That said, we also have very robust programs. The 811 program, Call Before You Dig, is literally geared towards citizens across the country, as well as contractors and excavators, making sure that people have information. We partner with Common Ground Alliance. I would like to continue that robust partnership and make sure that there's awareness. Excavation itself is one of the worst threats to the integrity of a pipeline system, and working forward to not only provide the information on where pipelines are, but also enhance our notification and information and share that more widely with the public through the 811 process.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask one more question? I'm out of time. Thank you. Well, I look forward to working to find that right balance between protecting national security as well as the transparency, particularly for river crossings with pipelines, working with our state officials back home.
Thank you, Senator Daines. You know, the information that we share that's more critical is done through our protocols that we establish with the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that the people that need a deeper level of interest, including emergency responders, have that information, and it's done in a very secure manner. But they have it so that they can respond appropriately and also know what's in the area.
My last question is, given the recent accidents in Montana, I've appreciated the transparency of PHMSA's response. It's been good. However, PHMSA's rulemaking has been quite opaque. So we're seeing transparency when there's an accident, but it's been a bit opaque in the upstream process, which probably could be key to prevention.
Yes.
Where certainly an ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure. As administrator, how would you see increasing transparency of that rulemaking process and include the coordination with industry as well as state stakeholders?
Senator Daines, I agree with you that communication and transparency are fundamental to the process moving forward, whether it's rulemaking or communicating any of our information that we have available to share. My experience, having led a number of organizations, is really making sure that as we move forward in any rulemaking process, there is a healthy, robust opportunity for not only stakeholders to provide comments in the rulemaking process, but that we're responsive, whether it's through reports to Congress or other means, to sharing information along the way, taking that transparent opportunity of comments through the rulemaking process, working through them, addressing them, working with our stakeholders and understanding where they're coming from, and then truly writing the most robust rules that we possibly can, addressing concerns that are there, recognizing that we have to do that in a cost-benefit manner.
Thank you.